Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together. Hello, everyone who's watching or looking at the podcast or watching the podcast on YouTube. This is episode 29. I have the pleasure of having Joe Lynch from Cam in the studio / lunchroom / break area / my office. It does look like a podcast studio from this end, but I will do a photo of this side on the other side for some people at some point. So if you give everyone a little wave from there who's watching and say hello. Hello. Rules of thumb, keep the mic sort of here if we can. That will be good. If you do this and start talking away, they won't be able to hear you. So we'll try and keep it here.
That might be a bonus.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We saw each other earlier, which was good. You were multitasking whilst I was like, how is that? She's scheduled it in advance. I was super impressed. So that was pretty good. But that was good. It was good to see you. And you were sitting next to Jonah from Blend, who we both know.
To Jonah.
So yeah, Jonah's a good boy. We like Jonah. Hi, Jonah.
Hi, Jonah.
Okay, so we're going to go straight into the questions.
Okay. So
these are two questions from a last guest, which was Dan from Airship, and he very kindly dealt with my technology challenges with cameras going off and stuff. He was like, everyone in hospitality has one book. What is that one book?
I suppose if it was Dan, I should say it was Airship's bumper book of marketing.
That's what I said to him. Apparently, Volume 2's coming out, apparently.
Volume 2?
I know. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm not a big book reader, apart from trashy novels when I'm going and sitting on the beach like last week. But I have read the Airship bumper book of marketing. That was probably the last hospitality book I read, I won't lie. I'm much more a learner on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not a studious learner.
Yeah, same as me. You're a kinesthetic learner. Throw you into it
if
and
that's the
off you
word,
go.
then yes.
Yeah. Or show you how to do it and then it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Don't give me a classroom or a book. Just show me how to do it.
Yeah, we're the same. We're the same. My team in there are exactly the same. Show them how it works and it's in there forever. Okay. That's well. I think Dan sort of fell into that a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, what's more important, loyalty or frequency? I said loyalty for frequency, but I meant loyal or frequency. So what's more important, loyalty or frequency?
It's a really good question. You know, as you know, I'm a former operator as well as being, a supplier now, but and I'm a former marketeer. So both loyalty and frequency are really, really important, both of them, probably in equal measures. I think loyalty is the big buzzword right now. We hear a lot about loyalty, certainly with the tech clients that I deal with at CAM. Loyalty is a big word for them. It's very important. We have some great tech providers out there that provide loyalty schemes, cards, things, whatevers. But frequency is equally as important, because if you can drive that frequency, you drive that extra spend. And certainly when I was a big table group, frequency was a big buzzword of ours, because if you could drive that more frequent spend, that would also automatically drive the loyalty to a certain extent. So I think they work hand in hand. That's probably not answering Dan's question. I think they're both really important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think
I agree.
That's where we should be.
I think I agree. I think I don't know. You're right. There is a buzzword with loyalty right now. If you can do. I spoke to someone just early before you came, and I was telling him the dream of and I did this with the podcast just came out with Ruben.
Yes.
And it was like the dream is customer comes to the venue, they've signed up to the book to table, they've connected to the Wi-Fi, they've signed up on your website, wherever it might be, they get there, they don't have to fill out any form, or they don't have to sign up to any app, and when they leave you send them an email, a week later saying...
That's the dream, isn't it?
Saying, we've added you to our platform, a loyalty platform, thanks for coming, here's 300 points for whatever, or here's a surprise and delight. I think that's the dream. I'd love to see that happening. I think we're not far off.
I think it's getting better for sure, and I think hospitality's always been a bit further behind in the loyalty stakes. If you look at the likes of Tesco Clubcard,
30 years in the making,
Card, Nectar,
Yep.
They've been around in your pockets for years, and hospitality has taken a lot longer to get there. Will it get to that stage of being that advanced? Probably not, but actually I think we're making the right steps towards loyalty, driving frequency, driving spend, and driving that customer engagement as well.
I agree. Okay, on to the standard questions. So the first standard question we have is the best hospitality experience. And you've just been away, so it could be anywhere.
Yeah, I was in Portugal last week with my daughter. I must admit we were in a sort of like a holiday resort. So, it was Portugal, but there wasn't much Portuguese going on.
Yeah.
But it was great. We had a lovely week. I think the most recent best hospitality experience I've had, and obviously, in this industry, as you know, we go out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Cam like to go out quite a lot. We're particularly, we spend most of our entertainment budget in Lucky Voice, I think. That's a whole other story. But yeah, recently I actually went to a little Italian chain, as it turned out, that I didn't know about. I won't lie, I hadn't come across them, but I'm interviewing Colin from Zia Lucia at Casual Dining as part of a panel tomorrow. So I thought I'm going to go along and see what it's all about. And honestly, the whole experience, the food, the simplicity of it was outstanding. The lady who served me was absolutely delightful. It was quiet, I was in Islington, and it was like 2:30 on a Wednesday or something, but it was just it felt like genuine, heartfelt hospitality, which I think sometimes lacks in places. I have got a bit of a penchant for Italian food anyway, having come out of Big Table Group where Bella Italia was amongst one of my responsibilities. But yeah, the food was great, the hospitality was great, the service was excellent.
Yeah.
And, from a recent perspective, would I go there again? Yeah, absolutely. So there's that frequency.
Nice.
And am I loyal? If they were local to me, absolutely, I'd be loyal.
Yeah. I think the other word is consistency, I guess.
Consistency.
So if you were to go back, I think if it was the same, they've got you, right? That's it.
And I'm really looking forward to speaking to Colin tomorrow to see, what the plans are.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen because I'll be there. I'll be queuing away.
I think, 4:15, I think.
Okay, best hospitality tech. Well, that's a hard one.
Oh, I can't say that because I've got lots of tech clients.
You do. But you could say the best hospitality thing you've experienced, maybe, rather than genuinely. So, and it could be a general one because we had Christian from Tenzo a little while ago, and he's like, "Well, I have a lot of tech partners, so this is challenging." But it could be anything. Something that has helped with the experience, something that you've seen that's amazing in the market, anything.
I think going back to with my operator head on, well, even 3 years ago, we were faced with huge amounts of tech. And, we were talking about this morning, integrations in tech they're getting way better than they were 3 years ago, even probably a year ago. And, the companies are talking to each other a lot more.
Finally.
I loved Tom from Pinpoint's expression this morning that it's not an all-in-one system people want, it's a more-in-one.
Yeah, I love that.
I loved that. That was a great expression for it. I think, going back to my experience as an operator, we had so many different tech platforms that not always integrated well or as they should or as we'd have liked them to, bearing in mind it was a fairly big business. But for me as a marketeer, one of the really important parts of my job was to make sure we could bring bookings in. And bookings were fundamental to our business. We wanted to be not an entirely pre-booked business, but obviously pre-booked means not quite guaranteed sales, but there's an element of sales being there. So I'm not going to pick on this booking platform we used because that's a whole other story. But one client I'm working with at the moment, TripleSeat, have this most amazing, because I'm a bit of a booking platforms geek now, having been through tenders for booking platforms. An amazing platform. It's not bookings, it's event management. So it takes those bigger, larger scale bookings and simplifies the entire process when you're dealing with, a group of 20 right up to a group of 500, with the pre-orders, the deposits, the VAT receipts, with the whole communication piece, which is really important. And the research we did with them recently, we've done a fair bit of research with them in the last year, has culminated in an event management guide for operators.
Oh, okay.
Which, that's quite cool. Downloadable on our website.
I'll have a look.
And on the TripleSeat website. But genuinely, it was such an interesting piece of work. We spoke to operators about their challenges around dealing with larger scale bookings, but we also spoke to event planners, so the corporate PAs, the people who actually book events, what are their challenges.
Oh, wow.
And they want to be able to speak to a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, who thought it, eh? Let's have an hospitality experience and actually speak to somebody. But they want the simplicity of being able to deal with someone who knows if they ring up or if they email exactly what's going on. And that's what that platform does. It holds all the information in one place around the booking. So for me, it's quite, it's not for everybody, that piece of tech, because it's very much geared towards large bookings, but it's, as a booking platform geek, as I said, it was like, whoa, I like this.
I think the one thing, because I met with the founder I think last year, or the year before, at one of the shows.
Jono.
And it was awesome, and he was talking about the platform and stuff. And one thing I really like, because a colleague of mine does marketing and events, and they've got a couple of restaurants. And she still has the same event sheet she's had for 10 years. That one piece of paper with the canapes on the bottom and the opening notes and all that, it's all there. I mean, literally, I've stolen it before and you give it to friends of mine. It's amazing. But the main thing was, what we were talking about, is like, if that person leaves, or that Word document on their personal laptop isn't there, and the customer calls in for their 20 grand event and wants information, or if the event's going on and that person's not there, that platform has it all in there.
Yeah.
So I think that's another piece as well, which is interesting. I do need to speak to them, actually. Need to get them on the podcast.
You need to get them on the podcast.
Yeah, I will have a chat with them. But it's a good platform. They've got integrations as well. I think
they've got integrations. So I think their primary integration is Seven Rooms, who are obviously becoming massive here in the UK. 5 years ago, when I was looking at new booking platforms, Seven Rooms didn't exist. There was a lot more limitation in the market, but now there's more out there. So it's
and there's more coming as well, which is really interesting.
More happening, and there's more happening in the tech space all the time, as you probably see as well. There's lots of businesses emerging, which is great. Yeah. Is there too much tech choice out there? Probably not. There's tech for everybody. Yeah. And people might want people tech, EPOS tech, loyalty tech. Yeah.
I think the nice thing is you can pick and choose now.
You can pick and choose, but the key thing is that integration.
Yeah, absolutely.
More in one.
We had Tommy from Honest, and the question from the previous David from 16, he's a reseller in Malta for Lightspeed, and he's basically, they roll out there, and he was like, question, single supplier or tech stack? And it was really interesting. And Tommy was tech stack. They have Vita. They're rolling out Vita, which is great, a great platform. But you still need to plug stuff in. So even it seems like an all-in-one that system. But there are other, or you work with them as well. So
we do. We did a big piece of research last year for Vita Mojo, or with Vita Mojo, which culminated in a Bridging the Tech Stack in 2024 guide, which it went down really well. It's some brilliant, just really simple diagrams in there. I'm not a techie. Yeah. I understand how it can work or how it should work in a business. I don't understand all the crap behind it, because that's way over here. To start talking APIs and I'll just glaze over. But there's a really simple diagram within this guide which shows all the arrows going around all the different bits of tech, and that was, honestly, you look at it and go, that just makes sense now.
So on that note, William Connors, hi William, he's amazing. He for his role he's just left, he built that diagram that you'd be able to understand for everyone. Yeah. And it had everything in it, from the POS to the res, and it just made sense. And just to have that, to share that to the business, everyone was like, I get it.
But also to share it to operators who will, in a bigger business as well, will have people doing different things. You'll have the HR team, the finance team, stock control.
Everything's connected.
But they'll understand their bit, but won't understand necessarily how it helps and works with the other areas of their business. Yeah. Or how it should. Yeah. Should, could, would work.
Could. Should, could, would. Okay. All right. So enough of the questions. We're going to go back in time. We're going to. I put here from banking to marketing. So because my little PA ChatGPT did a deep dive, and banking to marketing. I know, let's go back before you hit hospitality. Where did that transition happen? How did it happen? Because it's a very what the fuck happened there? I did promise I wouldn't swear. No, you didn't. I said you could. Bing. There we go.
So I left school after A-levels. I had a place to do a degree. I got my grades, decided, do you know what, I don't want to go to university. And so I thought, I'll join Barclays Bank on a management training programme. My dad was ex-Barclays, so there was a bit of family history there. That wasn't the only reason I joined. It's just that I like numbers. My degree was going to be maths, so, God help me. I mean, what was I thinking?
Maths degree.
I know, Jesus Christ. But so I went into Barclays quite a long time ago. did the management training program, which meant I ended up doing my banking exams, which was a degree equivalent qualification anyway.
Yeah.
So, I was an ACIB. I don't pay my membership now, so I'm not an ACIB anymore.
But you could.
But I was able to do that alongside, obviously, working and earning a wage, going through various different stages of banking. And I ended up ultimately, after 12 years in corporate finance.
12 years.
12 years, I know, in corporate finance. So not personally lending, but basically responsible alongside a team for lending multi-million pounds of money to multi-million pound turnover businesses.
Wow. So
that was good. And then, the inevitable happened when you're female and you get pregnant and have a baby. So my son Jake was 23 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So I left before I had him. Very generous, as you can imagine, maternity terms in a big corporate like Barclays. So I had a year's maternity leave, then took a year's career break.
That's not hospitality, is it?
No, it's not like hospitality.
2 weeks off maternity leave.
Yeah, come back with them strapped to your chest. And then had a year's career break, during which time number 2 was on her way.
Yeah.
And decided then not to go back. I wasn't going to do, those days you worked 5 days a week in an office, and I was working. I had a 2-hour commute each way.
2 hours
from Buckingham to Luton, of all places.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So decided that wasn't going to happen, and resigned. And then my daughter came along, Erin. She was born on 040404. She's got a very cracking birthday. And after about 8 months, I was like, yeah, kids are great, but I actually need to go back to work and not just earn some money, but also use my brain again, bless them. So I met a lady called Anne Elliott, who many people listening will know. Anne lives near me.
Oh, does she?
She lives about 5 miles down the road. She was looking for a part-time sort of admin assistant to help her in her consultancy work. And I suppose, as the saying goes, the rest, they say, is history. So that was nearly 20 years ago.
Wow.
I stayed with Anne for about 12 years. And in that time, it went from 2 of us to about 20 of us.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you saw, that what with the Inside Big Table? Was that
No, that was out. That was, we became an agency. So we worked only in hospitality. Anne's background is completely hospitality.
Yeah.
So all our clients were hospitality clients, supplier and operator. Quite a lot of pub-related work, because Anne was ex-Whitbread, so therefore, pubs was in her blood, or in her bones, or both. So we used to do, a lot of work for a lot of the big pub companies and restaurant companies, suppliers, marketing and PR. It developed into. That was that, and then we did a big project for Casual Dining Group, as it was then, before Big Table Group, when. The incumbent PE was selling, I think it was Blackstone, who sold to Apollo from memory. I might have got that wrong. And we did a big project on marketing due diligence to help the business, along the way with making the right decisions. And from that, I started doing more projects for Casual Dining Group, Big Table Group, as part of still working for Anne. Mm-hmm. So as a sort of a quasi-consultant, I guess. And then they made me an offer I couldn't refuse to join them permanently.
Oh, wow.
And, with Anne's blessing, she and Steve Richards, who was the CEO at the time, go way back from, in working terms. And so they had a good conversation and all was good.
You can have her. I will release her.
Have her, take her away, get rid of her. But that was like, that was 12 amazing years, and I learned a huge amount. I've got no hospitality training.
Yeah, so you're literally from nothing.
Whatsoever.
From nothing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm completely untrained. Back to the point at the beginning where I learn by doing.
Yeah.
Don't sit me in front of a load of study work and I can't do it. Just show me what I need to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in hospitality 20 years ago.
That's amazing. Nearly 2 decades. I think it's 9. I think it's 9. Is it 18 or 19? I think it says
20. It'll be 20 years. Erin is 20, so it'll be 20 years in January.
So moving forward, it's not 20 years, it's 2 decades, because that shows breadth and strength.
Does it?
So
probably shows age as well. But
I've been doing 2 decades in hospitality tech, so yeah. So a colleague of mine was like, we were in a meeting, and he was like, Adam's been in hospitality for 3 decades. I said, I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. He goes, I didn't mean it. Sorry.
I suppose I'll go into my 3rd decade next year. So, but would I want to do anything else? No. you know, when I got made redundant a couple of years ago.
Hold on. No, wait. I want to know more.
Go back.
I want to go more. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, what was the agency called? With that?
Elliot's.
Oh, okay. And so you grew with that company. You then learned how everything worked within that brand.
Yeah, I mean, to start with, to be honest, I was pretty much Anne's PA. You know, it was like arranging a diary, sense checking presentations, you know, making appointments. But I learned, you know, you learn a huge amount by just checking a presentation.
Yeah, 100%.
And again, that comes back to my style of learning. You know, make as it makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, and it just I became an account manager and
then account. Oh, so you say you okay, fine, and then into casual dining. And then what did you start there in casual dining?
So they created a role.
Oh, that's nice.
It had the most weird title, and Hilary Ansell, who was the marketing director there, she's now Marigami Udon.
Yeah.
She created this job title. I don't think any of us still understand what it actually was. We did have a good joke about it quite regularly. I was head of brand activation and insights.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, which basically meant research. So you know, it's quite handy now.
Very handy.
And local marketing. I also had customer services under me as well at one point.
So it's one of those job titles that they can just throw a bit more in.
Throw a bit more in, yeah. But at that time, you know, Bella, it was only on Bella Italia at that time, and the plan was to grow Bella big time.
Yeah.
So we went from about just over 70 sites up to over 100, including we opened in 2016. So I properly joined in 2015.
Yeah.
And we opened a couple that year and did quite a lot of refurbs from the old, if you remember the old brown Bella days, as we called it, to the new blue Bella days. But then in 2016, we opened 28 in 9 months, which was,
that's
fairly
like
relentless.
What, new or refurb? Was it all new?
Not necessarily new builds. Some were
no, but like as in new locations.
New locations, yeah. So that was a lot of living out the suitcase.
Yeah.
It was great. You know, opening new sites was really exciting. You know, we got a lot of things wrong, but we equally got a lot of things right. You know, there was a lot of learning along the way for sure. It wasn't supposed to be 28. It was originally only supposed to be 16, but then the business bought Latasca.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a need to convert a lot of the Latasca sites. So a lot of them went to Bella. Some of them went to Las Iguanas.
Yeah.
So the 16 became 28. Wow. And that was a busy, very, very busy 9 months.
That's like a super fast turnaround.
It was, yeah. And you know, some of the new locations were like absolutely brand new. You know, we went into locations where we already had a site. So, for example, Brighton.
Yes.
You know, we had one.
Yeah.
And went to 3 because one was a Latasca, and then we had a new build as well.
So how was that? How was that with trying to let them understand that the locals turned into 3 and like. That's difficult.
They were 3 very different locations, to be fair.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so...
Brighton's so jam-packed, right?
It is, but one was out at the Marina,
so
that was slightly, you know, it's still Brighton, but it's slightly different. But then we went into locations like, I don't know why I'm laughing, because it's nothing against these locations at all, but we were everywhere from like literally like Darlington down to Portsmouth, Gunwharf Quays, which was an absolute beast of a site. That was a Latasca, 2 stories... but also there's 2 stories inside and 2 stories outside.
Wow.
Overlooking the wharf with the Spinnaker right next door. So one of the opening activations for that one is one of my favourites was I got the team I led to abseil down the Spinnaker Tower for our chosen charity.
That's amazing.
So Lisa Gibbons, who was the ops director for Bella at the time, she's now MD for Las Iguanas. I don't think she's ever forgiven me for that. We all had GoPros attached to our helmets as we went down, and mine was like a tourist video because I was like turning my head going, oh look, you could see HMS Victory, there's the Isle of Wight. Lisa's was concrete wall all the way down going, fuck you, Joe, I hate you. Fuck you, Joe, I hate you. That's all you could hear.
Thank goodness the audio was changed then, I guess.
Yeah. It was, but we did some quite sort of mad things opening these sites. So
I guess you have to as well. It's all about, you know.
Yeah, we refurbished Reading, and that was another favourite of mine, which I talk about regularly. So Reading Oracle, it was a refurb. It was an old brown Bella, which we changed. It was one of the first new blue Bellas with a gelato cart, which was like a big thing for Bella at that time. And the canal runs right through the middle of Reading. Yeah. So you've got the car park, the restaurants on the riverside where we were, then the shopping centre. So like you do, I hired a canal boat to go up and down the canal with like Bella Italia all over it, blasting out Italian opera music. So yeah,
Giving out
1
gelato.
July. Yeah, it was, you know, how can you actually manage and what's the word, measure it?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but it was great fun.
It was great fun. A bit more stress nowadays to get that conversion percentages.
Conversion, yeah.
Okay, so you that was in the beginning.
That was in the beginning. That was the first like 2 years. And then
That's more thrown in. So like literally both roles. One was deep dive learning, really learning, and the next one was thrown in. By the way, we're going to do all of this. Off you go with the suitcase.
Yeah. And, you know, alongside that, there was local marketing for the existing sites. There was...
How many sites you ended up having in total?
It was 110 off the top of my head, including big ones like Gun Wharf and Blue Water, which was the biggest. I think that was 200 covers, which was like pretty much double the size of most of the others. In the middle of Blue Water Shopping Centre. God, we made that number 100. It wasn't actually number 100. It was number 101. But I think number 101 was actually somewhere like I can't remember. It was somewhere strange. It was like Basildon or something. Nothing against Basildon. We loved our time in Las Vegas.
All about activation,
it's
though,
all
right?
about activation.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was an interesting time alongside, doing also research. So we did a big piece of research on kids menu. Bella wanted to be known for its kids menu, which is very pertinent because that's what I'm talking about, family dining, a casual dining show. And then, there's lots of research in amongst everything else and customer services as well, which involved a whole platform build as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was great. It was a great, exciting time. Then, obviously things, the business moved and changed. So I ended up taking on Cafe Rouge and Belgo.
Yeah.
As well, little Belgo, which existed. The Belgo died in COVID, bless it.
There's still some Belgos. No more Belgos.
No more Belgos.
They're all gone.
They all went.
I didn't know they were part of the group.
Yeah.
I love Belgos.
Yeah. Everyone remembers the one in Seven Dials.
Yeah, Covent Garden. Yeah, 100%.
With the monks' outfits. Yeah,
I love that.
That's the one that everyone remembers.
Yeah.
We had great Christmas parties there.
I mean, they didn't used to do the thing on the cocktails on the tray, and they'd come along and they'd just slap it down. You'd have like this sort of paddleboard of cocktails.
It was
good.
It was great fun in there. Yeah, that was for sure.
Yeah, one of my wife's favourites. To be fair, I had no idea it was part of the group. That's really funny. Did they buy it, or was it part of? Was it?
Oh, I don't know. It was already part of it when I joined, so basically, I'm not sure.
So then you ended up being put into more. So Cafe Rouge was part of it. Belgos was part of it.
Las Iguanas was always very separate.
Yeah.
So they sort of did their own thing, but within the group, obviously very successfully.
Yeah. It's different really because it's much bigger spaces, right?
Yeah. A different offer as well.
Yeah.
So yes, that was 180 sites for local marketing. So customer services came off at that point because local marketing. I was really lucky that big casual dining, big table group really invested in local marketing, and they saw the benefit of actually investing in putting budget behind local. Obviously, brand marketing is always the first and foremost because actually all the menus were the same everywhere, pretty much. We weren't going to price banding and Scottish provenance food and halal and all that, but it was it's quite a challenge at times. But yeah, it was really good that they were putting the energy into supporting me, and I had a team to do local. We developed a whole program called Love Local, which was local marketing program. Yeah. So every new GM to the business, every aspiring what they called future leaders, so those that were assistant managers.
I love that name. That's a great name.
Yeah, it was great. My idea. They all had to go through the Love Local course because it was deemed to be, whilst we could support them to absolute nth degree with brand marketing, they'd always get their menus, their posters, their A-boards on time. What were they actually doing to support their business locally? Were they going out to businesses and encouraging people in? Were they going out flyering? Were they going into the shopping centre and making sure that we were prominent on the website? Because with the best will in the world, me and the team could not do that for 180 sites individually.
No,
so we needed to push back.
This is empowering the local general manager to basically be like, this is training for them,
it was face-to-face training at the time. Face-to-face. Yeah. And then we developed a whole toolkit as well, an online toolkit, so they could order print materials. So they were never allowed to type anything because, that would have been interesting.
That would have been challenging.
But it would self-personalise to their site. They could pick and choose some offers which were preset, and then ultimately their ops manager had to approve anyway and approve the budget spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all had Love Local packs to fill in.
I love that.
Which, the OMs would go through with them on their visits. Whenever I was out and about, I'd go through it with them. It was honestly, it was one of the best times.
Know. I've seen lots. I haven't spoken to that many multi-group. I mean, obviously, I've had people here. But I've not heard that was ages ago. That was a while ago, right?
I started that in about 2017, 2016, probably as part of the new openings. We realised that local was going to be a massive factor. So that became quite a big beast. I loved it. It was.
And is that something that I don't know? Do you know if it's still something that they do today? Or interesting.
I suspect with COVID.
Yeah.
Obviously we all went through a really hard time being in an operator business as well. Yeah, where suddenly one day we had 250 sites open and the next day we had zero.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting time because we soon very quickly learned that the booking platform, which was another thing I was involved with, you couldn't actually shut off 250 sites by hitting one button. It was literally somebody had to go into each individual site and close off bookings. And then it was how long do you close them? And cancel bookings.
Wow.
Because would you believe we had people turning up for bookings during COVID lockdown.
And then you get a complaint email.
Yeah, it did happen, honestly. But yeah, we soon very quickly learned that you had to literally go into each site individually, which, the booking platform company, they've never accounted for the need to suddenly close off
multiple. Why would you need it?
Sites all at once.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time.
Wow.
And then I don't know what happened with local after that because, I was furloughed on and off, and obviously budgets.
So what was it like with that? So obviously, as no one really wants to talk about COVID. It's in the past, but for such a large group to go from that to zero. Was there still some sort of like communication still going on? Were there some of the team still?
Some of the team was still in.
Yeah.
As a necessity, to monitor things. Close down restaurants was a big thing to do. There was massive. 250. Actually, I was speaking to somebody I know who works in hotels, and they suddenly realised they obviously had to close the doors of the hotels. Suddenly realised the hotel doors, front doors, they're never locked. There's no keys. So how do you actually physically close a hotel which is open 24/7, 365?
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, that was an interesting one for them, I should think.
Like a bit of wood over the side or something like that. Out the fire escape.
Yeah.
So, that never even thought about that. That's crazy. Some of them just like open.
They're open all the time, aren't they? Yeah.
So, so then you went from there when you were furloughed and then back in, or was it furloughed and then out?
Back in. Obviously, we lost 100 sites, so 250 went down to 150.
Wow.
And unfortunately lost a lot of colleagues.
Yeah.
It was, inevitable that a downsized estate size would lead to a downsized workforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stayed, which at the time I felt very lucky.
Yeah.
It was a really hard time, actually. It was
I don't
difficult.
think people realise how hard it actually was. I mean, we don't want to dwell on it too much, but if for restaurants, especially in a larger group, to see that amount, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really tough. But yeah, it was interesting. But, in amongst all of that, before COVID, we talked about it, I had, as well as all the local marketing, I had the responsibility of implementing an entire new bookings platform into the business.
That was challenging.
Obviously alongside the IT team, because I didn't do the technical part.
So what was it before? Was there no bookings before?
Yeah, we had Bookatable, which did a great job.
Yes.
But it was up for renewal, non-integrated.
Yeah.
So we looked at other platforms and decided to take Zonal's Live Res.
Yep. Because
we had Zonal EPOS and it all integrated and looked great. And, fundamentally, the underlying platform was amazing. But I think Zonal themselves would probably admit that there was a few things that weren't quite there. But the potential was great.
Did they bought Live Res, right?
Good question. I think I've got a feeling you're right. I think they did.
Yeah, and then that was integrated. Nice.
Yeah.
So
I think it was called Tables originally, or perhaps it was Live Res and now is Tables. I can't remember.
And then were you one of the first, or?
Yeah, we were the first to take the enhanced version, which included deposit taking, pre-orders. So I did joke with Zonal at the time that we were the guinea pigs, and the first Christmas was a slight disaster. It wasn't not from the guest perspective. The guests wouldn't have seen anything, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole integration piece was great. The way it integrated with the tills was excellent. And my job was to sell it into the operators and literally do the training and making sure they understood why we'd done it.
Yeah. Well, you've gone from a completely non-integrated platform to something that's fully integrated.
Which, it's basically you can't be overbooked.
Yeah.
If your table plan is right, you can't be overbooked.
I think you said, did you say that people would just either block booking?
They didn't get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you saying something like people used to block book times and then you would log in and unblock those times.
Yeah, I wouldn't allow, with obviously the agreement of the business, the GMs on site to have access to the back end of it, because I knew from the experience with the previous platform that if they got busy or didn't want bookings, they'd just switch it off.
Yeah.
And, I always remember GM saying to me, but we might get walk-ins. It's like, but I want bookings. So, yeah, it was interesting.
I think the nice piece of that is that we talked about the no-shows things a while ago, but even back then there were some no-shows. Yeah. And I think walk-ins is nice because then you can deal with it. But
there's always, unfortunately, going to be no-shows. We talked about it on the panel that we did together a few weeks ago, where I swore a lot, but it was good. But yeah, it was a really interesting time. I learned a huge amount about tech and integrations and how important tech used in the right way was to a business. So would I change it? Back then, I was like, I'd literally go crying to Phil Lovell who's now at Toast, was my zonal account manager. So I'd literally go up stamping my feet to him because he used to come into the office once a week and go, Phil, it's not working.
Come and fix it now.
Yeah.
So so you're guinea pigs. That's a big guinea pig.
I think it's a fair comment to say we were guinea pigs. I think probably Zonal would agree with that. We spent, in fairness to them, they spent a lot of time with us understanding what the niggles were, what needed fixing, why it didn't work like that. Because it's if you're a techie person, you think it should work one way, but if you're an operator, the reality is very, very different.
Yeah, but that's nice, though, to have a technology partner that actually comes in and will make positive change on the platform and work with you with it. Because sometimes there are platforms out there that won't make that change, and then you're sort of stuffed with this sort of like clunky system. Yeah. So I think, albeit being clunky, you probably, benefited it being adjusted and tailored to your needs. And being that group, it's beneficial for them, right, as well. So that's amazing. That project on its own with the amount of locations. So that was right up to the whole group.
No, it was Bella went first. Yeah. Then Rouge and Belgo. At the point I left the business 3 years ago, Las Iguanas were about to go, but weren't quite there. I believe they're on it now. I had to do a handover to the head of marketing for Las Iguanas, bless her, and she was with me along a lot of the journey with Live Res, but I don't think any of us really understood the complexities of what it involved to roll out an entire brand on a brand new booking platform. So it was an interesting time.
It's good for your history. I mean, it's learning is loads. Before not doing a huge amount in technology, so marketing is one piece, but then being thrown into tech, that's a lot.
And working closely with the IT team was great because obviously they're the ones that needed to make it work from a technical perspective. Yeah. So my job was the selling to the operators as to the why, and why we were going to burn their paper diaries, because believe me, some of them were still running paper diaries. Wow. Yeah, they were under pain of death if I found a paper diary or a piece of paper with bookings.
Paper diaries?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It was, and that's only, we're going back.
That's 3 years.
2018 we started rolling out.
That's mental.
2019. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
God.
It reminds me a bit of like guest books back in the day when you'd come in and then you'd sign in your guest book with your name and email address that would need to be destroyed. Okay. And then you then left?
Yeah, I was. I think the furlough thing had been really hard, as it had been for many people, and it was just the right time to think about doing something else. So I left and joined Yumpingo. Yeah. So guest experience tech.
Yes.
So again, had then another whole learning experience around
Phil
tech. He came after me, but
what was that like?
Yeah,
following me.
Oh God, what are you doing here? But that was with David Charlton, who was Zonal, who sold us Live Res. So I should have known better. Oh. Sorry, David, I don't mean it. So David said, come and join us. Brand new role again. Yeah. So which was nice. And
then new learnings as well.
Whole new learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great, being able to work with clients, going back to what I'd done at Elliott's, which is working with clients, operator clients. It was 14 months of putting a whole new process and way of doing it in place, in terms of my responsibility was to onboard the new client onto the platform. Yeah. Were they still having devices at that point? Devices, were they more prevalent, QR. Or was it mainly devices? Was the prominent piece, and the piece which I think resonated with the operators because it was real and the guests could actually select the dish they were reviewing. Whereas QR was a little bit more hit and miss because it wasn't integrated. Back then as well. Yeah, but it was still worked. We still had a lot of clients who were on QR as well. But yeah, it was 14 months of big learning, which I wouldn't change. Never change for the world because I've learned a huge amount out of it. Again, doing it the practical way, not the learning. Can you imagine reading a book about tech? 60 pages. Jesus. And then I was made redundant alongside several others 2 years ago. And then I've known Katie Moses at Cam for many years. And actually, when I first joined Bella, because I had insight as part of my role, she helped us with the kids menu project. Oh, so you'd really worked together. I'd actually been Katie's client. Yeah. And we'd always kept in touch. And it was Cam back then, or it was something different? Yes, I think she was Cam back then. It was Cam. And it was just Katie at that point, because we're going back sort of 8-9 years ago. So she happened to be looking for an account director. I happened to be needing a job. Yeah. And, within a month of being made redundant, I was to be fair, you're a hot ticket, Joe. You're a hot ticket. Do you know what I mean? Thank you. It was it's not bad great. CV, to be honest with you. It's not too bad, I suppose. So still in hospitality. You became account director at Cam. At Cam, coming up now 2 years ago. Wow. Yeah, I don't know where that time's gone. It has just flown. It's flown. But it's great, working with operators and suppliers. So you get across the board. It's really interesting how you're. I find one of the questions was what is. I mean, we can talk about it now. For people who don't know, what is Cam? What does it do? How does it? What's the purpose of it? So we are an insight research consultancy. We work only in hospitality. So we're that hospitality stick of rock. Operators and suppliers. We have a lot of pub company clients, which is predominantly Katie's world because that's what she's been doing the last 9-10 years. Yeah. Actually, Cam is coming up to 10 years old. Wow. Scary. You'll have to arrange the party, abseiling down some big poles somewhere. We should. That's a really good point. I'll mention that one. And then we also do, obviously, all the other operators as well. So I tend to pick up most of those, so casual dining, QSR, etc. And then I pick up tech as well because you've been immersed into it. I guess I'm not an expert on tech, but because I'm the only one in the team. There's only 5 of us at Cam. We're small but perfectly formed, and I'm the only one that's been an operator. So that puts a slightly different slant on the way I think. Especially when you're speaking to customers and operators as well, I guess. So yeah, it's great.
So do you end up having, so obviously operators wise will come to you similar to the research you did with what they want you to go in and do a deep dive into, this is the project we're looking at, we want to build this for this market.
Yeah.
You go deep dive, and then you guys do the research and then present back to them.
Yeah, so for operators, it can be a range of things, from wanting to understand who their customer is. So whilst they might have a brilliant CRM, there's still an element of actually, what does that customer think?
Yeah.
They might have a brilliant CRM and a brilliant guest experience tech solution, but that won't tell you what the customer really thinks. Guest experience is brilliant for the in the moment feedback. CRM is brilliant for the communication and a hell of a lot more. But what do customers actually think? So we do a lot of that. We do things like menu tasting, segmentation of segmentation of the customer. But also we look at non-customers as well. So
do you look at the local area and what's popular, and
so why are people not coming to us? Why are the lapsed stopped coming to us? Because those lapsed might sit on the CRM, but they're not engaging. Why? What's turned them off the brand?
Interesting.
They haven't turned off enough to unsubscribe, but why are they not coming in?
Yeah.
And with tech now, of course, when people are coming in through bookings,
and
through
Wi-Fi and everything
experience,
else.
through Wi-Fi, of course. Yeah. So we do basically customer, non-customer, lapsed for operators, as well as
is it mainly the bigger operators, or do you find it's a mixed bag?
Big mixed bag. So big pub companies through to the smaller casual dining chains, a bit in markets, QSR, bit of everything really.
And I think the interesting thing I find is that there's a mixed bag, because you've obviously got operator versus supplier. So because you've got some of the information that you've pulled out for the operator, when you look at suppliers and tech supplier, you actually give, I guess you've got your sort of teeth into different types of data. Yeah.
And data is at the heart of what we do. Insight is at the heart of everything we do.
So do you store all of that centrally, and then because if you're pulling in data, you're pulling in so many individual data points. Someone could just call you up and say, "What do you think about this?" And you'd be like, "Well, hold on, let me just pull out my big."
Yeah, I think that's where we're a bit different to some of the other providers out there. So we're good friends with our the other data providers as well. The likes of CGA. We know them well. HDI. But I guess the difference is they do a lot more of the market data. Yeah. So what's going on in the market generally.
The overall.
We do a lot more of the bespoke client-faced data.
Yeah. But then I guess sharing that data is more valuable than the just general market data, right?
Yeah. It's it's bespoke to that particular client.
Yeah.
So therefore, arguably, is more meaningful to them for their strategy.
Yeah.
So they'll often take what we do and use it to enhance their marketing, their comms strategy. Yeah, it's
amazing. I mean,
I've
seen what you've done for Vita and for TripleSeat and stuff. I mean, and also you can gate that information too. Yeah. But there's a difference between doing just a page, or an advert versus download data. Yeah. And I've seen some of the stuff. It's pretty awesome, to be fair. Yeah, and with our supplier insight that we do, so obviously I pick up tech, as I mentioned, but we also work with the food and drink suppliers as well. Ooh, to the industry. Cool. Yeah, which is great. So we get we are then speaking to operators about the product. So I mentioned TripleSeat earlier. We spoke to operators about how important event management is to them, as well as speaking to event planners. Yeah. So with the supplier clients, often we'll do a piece of consumer research, but also as an operator. So one project we did last year was one of the QR code suppliers wanted to know. The question really was, is there still a market for QR code ordering? Yeah. So we went out to consumers and asked them. Yeah. And actually, the appetite for QR ordering in the right environment is still absolutely up there. Not so much with the older generation, as you'd probably expect. But I'll tell you a funny story. Sorry to interrupt you there. No, nothing about you. But we work with Sessions Market, Shelter Hall in Brighton, and when they opened, they had to use QR, which was awesome. And I was there. We did the tech for them, and I was there on the day sort of opening when they started the first order at table. And there's no stock control linked into it and so on. So people were just ordering. And this poor bloke, he must have been about 70, he sat there and he went forward and he scanned it. And I was watching him. I was like, this is amazing. I mean, I've never seen this guy, he was ordering, he ordered that, ordered it, and sitting there waiting like this. And I went up to the bar and I was like, just walking around. I said, how are you getting on? It's really busy. I was like, there's a table over there who ordered like a lager shandy and a pint of something. That's out of stock. We've refunded them. I said, how are they meant to know? And it was sum up. It was the first. It was a good deal. It was the first system. And they were like, emails them. I said, the guy's 70. So they walked over and they were like, I'm so sorry, but they didn't know. So it was like, similar to putting Live Res in for the first point. They switched on this ordering thing, and if it wasn't in stock, wasn't available, it just immediately charged them, then immediately refunded them. So they had some challenge, but it was interesting to see everyone using it back then. And then another story about QR. I was talking to a friend of mine. His kid is shy and doesn't want to talk to anyone. You're very shy, like you. Absolutely. I'm sure you use QR the whole time. And it was interesting because he was saying he was saying that they look on online, and they'll go on TikTok and they'll have a look at places that do those sort of ordering, and they'll choose that venue because, one, it's easy for them. Two, they don't have to communicate. Three, they can order and go. So it's really interesting how different people use it, that style of tech. But QR is an interesting one. Yeah, I wish more people would use it.
And of course, it became normal in COVID. Yeah. Everyone had to do it. So I think that's why this project came about, because was the appetite still there? Because it was sort of forced on people. Do they still want to use it? And luckily for them, the answer was yes.
Yeah, well, is there a stigma for it in certain environments, I guess? Yeah. You wouldn't want to go to a super high-end restaurant and lose that personal touch.
No, and I think that's really important, that the whole personal piece is still should be an inherent part of the hospitality experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going through my little questions. We've highlighted, we've organically gone over these questions, which is great. So we've just sort of fled through. So the other question really is that, which is coming towards the end, which was the future of hospitality and technology. It says, with your experience discussing the interface of technology and hospitality, where do you see the future of tech or tech integration for the sector? What do you see, like your insights? There we go, Joe's insights for it. What do you see that's prevalent? What do you see that's coming? What would you like to see as a ex-operator, maybe?
I think going back to what we said about integrations, I think that's really important, that the tech companies talk to each other. Don't be precious about your product. Yeah. Talk to each other, allow it to integrate. It comes back to what we were talking about this morning with the pinpoint conversation. More in one, not all in one. Yeah. But it's really frustrating as an operator where you've got like multiple platforms you have to log into. It would be brilliant if somebody could come up with a bit like a DeliverAct where it
single sign-on. Yeah. So weirdly enough, because we do IT as well. Yeah. In that environment, you can have the single sign-on for your storage, for your emails, for everything. It's a single. It's called single sign-on. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if you had your 17 different products all in one little dashboard?
Because when I look back at being an operator and going into, I spent a lot of my time, probably 80% of my time was in site. And seeing the GMs log on to Forth for stock control and Harry for ATS and Zonal for EPOS, Live Res for bookings. They had so many different platforms they had to log into to be able to run their business. They had to be the recruiter, the stock controller. They had, and ultimately they had to run a restaurant as well.
And remember their 17 passwords.
And whilst tech is absolutely there to support the operator and help them run their restaurant, there is an element that there's got to be a bit of simplification for them as well.
I agree.
That's not because they need simplification. They're intelligent people. They're running restaurants. They need time saving. Yeah. Labour, I'm sure, is still a big buzzword as in the operator world. It was certainly when I was in Big Table Group. Labour was always the hit word of the day because budgets are tight. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same now. Just as recruitment is not necessarily any easier. Yeah. just as controlling your costs, you know, making
even
sure
harder.
you're switching off your electric,
Yeah.
you know, the whole sustainability piece, everything. It's, you know, it's a hard job.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that one pick. Listen, I think I'll write that note down and build that in my next project.
That in your next
Sign.
one,
I mean, to be fair, I think the guys from UDA were there at the event today, and they are helping with that one little piece with the employee engagement and tracking, and then the flow through. So I think that's at least one side of it. But you're right. I think it would be nice if there was someone that plugged into all, a bit like, as you said, DeliverX, but for applications. Like, you know, you log onto your central dashboard, and then you can just auto log into any of those tools you needed to, and then it would make offboarding easier, right? Because if someone leaves, they don't. I'm not an operator, but I can imagine your 17 different platforms. If you haven't reset those passwords, someone could just close your bookings platform down. Someone close.
It's happened.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think it's really fundamental, and I think, you know, for the tech suppliers out there, I think they do a great job now in speaking to each other. I think if you said that 3, 4, 5 years ago, they'd probably barely have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they are getting better. You know, there was the example again this morning where Alex from BizSimply had offered one of his consultants to go to Pinpoint
and discuss
and work through, you know,
those
how they
challenges.
could resolve a challenge.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's two different businesses who are ultimately competing.
Yeah.
Willing to work together.
Yeah, you're right.
really like
You're
that.
right. It's very different now, and it's nice. I think Olivia Reed said it ages ago. She was like, I think it was one of Chris's events, and he was like, I wish they would grow up. And that was like a year and a bit ago now. I wish they would go. And what she meant was open yourselves up, be open, let people connect, let people plug in. It doesn't need to be a big table group of 100 sites or 200 sites to say, can you build this? It should be really anyone. If you're open, then be open. So I think there are still challenges of the older platforms out there. You know who you are, who have like, you know, oh, it's going to be 20k to invest to build, and it's going to be our development time to build. That shouldn't be the case anymore, especially with the new players coming in, right? Because it's open. So, but yeah, I agree. The future's bright. I hope.
Future's bright.
So, but yeah, I think we are, and a really good time period because it usually hits about an hour. We're nearly there. So well done. I'm going to give you a little. Hold on, where is it? There we go. A little round of applause for you. Thank you so much. We're going to go to the last questions now. And the last questions, there's 3 of them, which is best restaurant.
Oh, best restaurant. It's a really hard one because obviously we eat out a lot in this industry. I'm going to pick a local one for me. So I live in a sleepy little market town called Buckingham. Which is in Buckinghamshire, surprisingly. And we have a lovely little independent Italian in the town, because we don't really do brands in Buckingham, although Loungers
I'm in
came
Hertfordshire,
to town.
so we're similar.
When Loungers came to town, everyone was like, ooh, what's this? Loungers are great. They do a good job in there. But it's a lovely little Italian called Prego. It's just comfortable, cosy, good food, good service. I can walk to it, so I can have a couple of glasses of wine.
Nice.
And then I can walk home.
And it's consistent.
Hopefully in a straight line.
And it's consistent?
It's consistent,
Okay, good. That's important.
It's basic, but exactly what it should be.
Yeah, you want to follow local. Yeah. I have a local called Paolo's. He's pretty awesome.
Love it. Yeah, it comes back to my love of Italian food. Yeah,
me too. Massive. And to be fair, he we've been there so often that my youngest is gluten free.
Yeah,
and he makes this awesome ragu and it's gluten free. And I've been sort of saying to him for a while, I said, I've never had this tastes like normal pasta. It's ridiculous. And my kid was just in awe. And I've been there loads, and also walking distance. Yeah. I went about to leave, and he was like, "Take this," and it was a pack of the pasta. He goes, "But you can buy it online. Just take it." And he gave me a pack.
Oh, that's so nice.
And it was so nice.
But there's things like that, isn't it? It's that surprise and delight that we were talking about earlier. That is so important. I think sometimes the bigger brands miss that.
It
Not
gets
always.
lost sometimes,
But yeah, that individual personalisation drives
Just
loyalty, drives frequency.
Drive loyalty and frequency. It's Dan Brickman in your ear again.
I know, I can hear him.
I agree. I think some of the bigger brands do it well. I think some of the other bigger brands are getting there. I mean, I won't go into more because we're going to keep going on. Okay, best burger.
Best burger. So again, I'm going to go to a recent experience. I'm not a big burger fan. I do eat meat. I eat beef. But I was at market halls in Victoria not so long ago. My first visit, you know, I was a bit unenamoured by the offerings in Victoria Station. No disrespect to any of the brands in there, but you get, you know, it's pretty much, when you go to a station, it's the same old thing. Yeah. I came out of Victoria and saw market halls opposite. I thought, I'm going to go and try in there. So I had a burger from Black Bear Burger. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was amazing. And I love that whole communal sitting down and just being next to people you don't know. And I'm a bit of a people watcher anyway. And, you know, I was on my own. So I was like, not listening, but, I was taking it all in. Yeah. But genuinely, it was a proper dirty burger, but it was really
Black
good.
Bear Burger is pretty good. I'll put that in the show notes for the links to people, but they are pretty good. Well done. And also for market halls, because that whole experience is different as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that whole environment of the market hall type experience. I went to Lisbon last year on my own.
Oh, you went to Time Out Market?
I went to Time Out because I was on my own. I was travelling on my own. Yeah. I didn't want to be that person sitting at a table of two on my own. Yes. So Time Out was perfect because I could sit at the kitchen bar stools amongst so many other people and didn't feel like I was on my own and had a great experience.
Yeah, I've not been to that. I really want to go to the Time Out Market.
Yeah, it was
I really want to see the difference. Yeah. I agree with you. I love it. I go to Seven Dials as well, which is also awesome, and it's just so steaming with people. Yeah, I'm like you as well. If I'm either zoning out or I'm you know in part of it.
I've just come from Borough Market, and that was heaving. Yeah. I honestly, the queue for the sausage roll man was huge.
Was it good though?
I didn't have a sausage roll because I was with somebody from Borough Market and I was having a bit of a guided tour and it was like, that's the sausage roll queue. And I was like, but that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, but battery exhausted on that camera.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I won't look at that one.
It's all right. We're on this camera now. So it happens. It's gone off. Okay. So I now know that the camera will last an hour of recording. Yeah. Okay. Best hotel.
Again, because I travel a lot on my own because I'm on my own. So I tend to go for the smaller, more boutique feeling. I suppose it's a thing about safety almost. So I spend a lot of time in Pembrokeshire, which is my favourite part of the world, literally. And whilst I have somewhere I can go to down there, I have a static caravan on the beach in Pembrokeshire. Ooh, awesome. Amazing. Looking at the beach, the sunsets. Before I had that, I stayed at a hotel called The Grove in Narberth. Yeah. Narberth is the most beautiful market town, all independent shops. There's not, you don't get a Costa. Not there's anything wrong with Costa. My daughter works in Costa to support her uni studies. But there's nothing recognisable as a chain in Narberth. And The Grove is just outside Narberth. It's just one of those places where the experience, the service is really excellent and you feel safe. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful place as well. Pembrokeshire is my absolute favourite place in the world. I will add that to the show notes. So and so the last piece is 2 questions for the next guest, and it could be anyone from marketer to operator to anyone. So however you want to do it. Okay. So I'm going to say, what would your last meal be? Okay. I've forgotten what my other one was. Let's make it, what would your last drink be? Sorry, that's really boring because my brain's gone now. No, that's all good. We've spent a bit of time talking, so I've utilised most of most of your brain. And I've only just come back from holiday, so the brain is still not quite functioning. But listen, I'm going to do a quick a round of applause for you. Thank you so much. Thank you. There you go. Hello, everyone. There's me. I'm over here. Thank you so much for coming. Wave goodbye to everyone. There we go. And then I'll do a little cheers again. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.